Hello folks, Slightly Slanted Sleuth. Okay, what we're looking at here is a Akari fizz image of the Milky Way galaxy. Notice how it's a sphere, folks. Yes, it's a sphere. Just like our planet. And this right here, folks, is the dark rift. That's what we see as dark. Isn't that quite peculiar? It's the event horizon, folks, for the Milky Way. Okay, we'll go to a different image here. This one's Fermi. A little different one. I haven't seen this one before. Wow. This one's an all-wise image of the Milky Way. There's the dark rift. Or what I'd like to call the event horizon. Okay, folks, this is a Finkbeiner image from the NDS, whatever this website is, Simbad, whatever. But looky, this is the Orion Nebula here. See this wing disc? Black old sun, won't you come? But check this out. This is a Messier or Messenger image. This is what we're more used to seeing. You see it? Oops. This is it right here. There's the dark rift. You see where Orion's at? It's entering the dark rift, the event horizon. And I believe now that Orion, specifically the open star cluster in Orion, the trapezium, holds our first begotten, only begotten from our Creator. The first all-pervading thought. But this is typically what we see from Earth. You know, this is what the dark rift looks like. But watch when you change it. These are different wavelengths or spectrums of light. This is a Spitzer telescope. Okay, and I bring to you Jesus in the cosmos. What is he standing in front of? Orion Nebula. My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For the length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you. Do not let kindness and truth leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart, so you will find favor and good repute in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord. No. Colossians 1:16. The supremacy of Christ. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions, or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. The 10 Sephiroth, by which the infinite being first manifested himself, are nothing but attributes which, by themselves, have no substantial reality. In each of those attributes, the divine substance is present in its entirety, and taken all together, they constitute the first, the most complete, and highest of all divine manifestations. It is called the archetypal or celestial man. This is the figure which dominates the mysterious chariot of Ezekiel, and of which the terrestrial man, as we shall soon see, is but a faint copy of. The form of man, says Simon Bar Yochai to his disciples, contains all that is in heaven above and upon earth below, the superior as well as the inferior beings. It is for that reason that the ancient of the ancients has chosen it for his own. No form, no world could subsist before the human form, for it contains all things, and all that is subsists only by virtue of it. Without it, there would be no world. For thus it is written in Proverbs 3:19, the Lord has through wisdom founded the earth. But it is necessary to distinguish the higher man from the lower man, macroprosopis from the microprosopis. One could not exist without the other. On that form of man rests the perfection of faith in all things. And it is that form that is spoken of when it is said that they saw above the chariot like the form of man. And it is of that form that Daniel spoke of in the following words. I saw in the nightly vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven. And he came even of the ancient days. And he was brought near before him. Thus what is called the celestial man, or the first divine manifestation, is nothing else than the absolute form of all that exists, the source of all the other forms, or rather of all ideas. The historical fact, the accuracy and which will be the more appreciated, the more extensive the knowledge of the system will become. However, before proceeding, we may cite yet these words. The form of the ancient, whose name be sanctified, is in a unique form which embraces all forms. It is a supreme and mysterious wisdom which contains all the rest. In the following passage, the terms that Trinity are somewhat different. We see where the Ein Sof himself, but on the other hand, we do not find their intelligence, no doubt, because it is but a reflex, a certain expansion or dimension of the Logos, which is called here wisdom. There are three heads sculptured, one in the other, and one above the other. One head is the secret, hidden wisdom, which is never unveiled. The mysterious wisdom is the supreme principle of all other wisdom. Above that first head is the ancient, whose name be sanctified, the most mysterious of all the mysteries. Finally comes the head, which dominates all the other heads. A head which is not a head. No one knows, nor can know what that head contains, for it joins neither science nor our understanding. Because of that, the ancient, whose name be sanctified, is called the no thing, I in. Thus, unity in being and Trinity in intellectual manifestation, or in thought, this is the exact summing up of what we have just said. All is right, there is no left there. He sleepeth hot and slumbereth not. He requireth not protection. He is not such an one as hath need to defend himself, for he defendeth all things, and he himself waited upon all things, and in the sight of his eye are all things established. This is the tradition where the eye closed even for one moment, nothing could subsist. Therefore it is called the open eye, the holy eye, the excellent eye, the eye of providence, the eye which sleepeth not, neither slumbereth, the eye which is the guardian of all things, the eye which is the substance of all things. And concerning it is written, Proverbs, the bountiful eye, thou shalt not read the blessed eye, but it blesseth, for it is called the bountiful eye, and by it are all things blessed. The four Kabbalistic trees described in the preceding chapter were combined by later Jewish scholars. Universe was formed. Okay. According to some authorities, it is this heavenly Adam and not a terrestrial man whose creation is described in the opening chapters of Genesis. Out of the substances of this divine man, the universe was formed. In him it remains and will continue even after dissolution shall resolve the spheres back into their own primitive substance. The deity is never conceived of as actually contained in the Sephiroth, which are purely hypothetical vessels employed to define the limits of the creative essence. Adolf Frank rather likens the Sephiroth to varicolored, transparent glass bowls filled with pure light, which apparently assumes the color of its container, but whose essential nature remains ever unchanged and unchangeable. The Sephirotic tree is sometimes depicted as a human body, thus more definitely establishing the true identity of the first heavenly man, Adam Kadmon, the idea of the universe, the 10 divine globes, which are planets, of course. Malkuth is the earth. The 10 divine globes are then considered as analogous to the 10 sacred members of the organs of the protogonos, according to the following arrangement. Kether is the crown of the prototypic head and perhaps refers to the pineal gland. Shakma and Bina are the right and left hemispheres, respectively, of the great brain. Chest and Gebara Peked are the right and left arms, respectively, signifying the active, creative members of the grand man. Jesus said, "Congratulations to those who are alone and chosen, for you will find the kingdom, for you have come from it, and you will return there again." Ea. There came forth from that place the cloud of the great light, the living power, the mother of the holy, incorruptible ones, the great power, the Mirotho, and she gave birth to him, whose name I name, saying 3 times, Ain, Ea. For this one, Adamus, is the light which radiated from the light. He is the eye of the light. For this is the first man, he through whom and to whom everything came into being, and without whom nothing came into being. The unknowable, incomprehensible Father came forth. He came down and above for the annulment of the deficiency. Then out of the imprisoned light a mysterious and holy word came forth and took its stand upon the smoking waters. This word, the voice of the light, rose out of the darkness as a great pillar, and the fire and the air followed it after it. But the earth and the water remained unmoved below. Thus the waters of light were divided from the waters of darkness, and from the waters of light were formed the worlds above, and from the waters and darkness were formed the worlds below. The earth and the water next mingled, becoming inseparable, and the spiritual word, which is called reason, moved upon their surface, causing endless turmoil. Then again was heard the voice of the Pymander's, but his form was not revealed. I, thy God, am the light and the mind, which were before substance was divided from spirit and darkness from light. And the word which appeared as a pillar of flame out of the darkness is the sun. Before the visible universe was formed, its mold was cast. This mold was called Archetype, and this archetype was the supreme mind long before the process of creation began. Beholding the archetypes, the supreme mind became enamored with its own thought. So taking the word as a mighty hammer, it gouged out caverns in the primordial space and cast the form of spheres in the archetypal mold. At the same time, sowing in the newly fashioned bodies and seeds. I don't know about all that. Then again was heard the voice of the Pymander's, but his form was not revealed. The name Hermes, this is the Greek form of Hermes, and this is Brian's mythology. The name Hermes is derived from Herm, a form of cherub, the personified universal life principle, generally represented by fire. The Scandinavians worshipped Hermes under the name of Odin, the Teutons Wotan, and certain of the Oriental peoples as Buddha, or Fo. There are 2 theories concerning his demise. The first declares that Hermes was translated like Enoch and carried without death into the presence of God. The second states that he was buried in the valley of Ebron, and a great treasure placed upon him. His transcendent learning caused Hermes to be identified with many of the early sages and prophets in his ancient mythology. Bryant writes, I have mentioned that Cadmus was the same as the Egyptian Thoth, and it is manifest from his being Hermes and from the invention of letters being attributed to him. In the chapter of the theory of Pythagorean mathematics, will be found a table of the original Cadman letters. Investigators believe that was Hermes, who was known to the Jews as Enoch, called by Cornelius the second messenger of God. Hermes was accepted into the mythology of the Greeks, later becoming the Mercury of the Latins. He was revered through the form of the planet Mercury because his body is nearest to the sun. Hermes, of all creatures, was nearest to God and became known as messengers of God, the messenger of gods. There's Buddha. There's a swastika on his chest. And looky here. A swirl. A black hole on his forehead. Okay, and here's the last little bit I'm going to read for you guys. Okay, we're talking about the Great Dragon. We're talking about the winged disc. And it's all the same thing. It's Orion, folks. The Great Dragon, called Hermes by name, as him thus meditated upon the world mystery. Terrified by the spectacle, Hermes prostrated himself before the dragon, beseeching it to reveal its identity. The great creature answered that it was Pymander's, the mind of the universe, the creative intelligence and the absolute emperor of all. Sure identifies Pymander's as the god Osiris. Hermes then besought Pymander's to disclose the nature of the universe and the constitution of the gods. The dragon acquiesced, bidding Trismegistus hold its image in his head, in his mind. Immediately the form of Pymander's changed. Where it had stood there was a glorious and pulsating radiance. Black hole with two jets coming out of it. This light was a spiritual nature and the great dragon itself. Hermes was raised into the midst of the divine effulgence, and the universe of material things faded from his consciousness. Presently a great darkness descended, and expanding swallowed up the light. Everything was troubled. About Hermes swirled a mysterious watery substance which gave forth a smoke like vapor. The air was filled with inarticulate moanings and sightings which seemed to come from the light swallowed up in the darkness. His mind told Hermes that. This is the Orion Nebula M42 open trapezium open star cluster. Right here is where the trapezium is. Here's a different light spectrum. Right here, folks, is the dark rift. This is the nebula, our central sun. We're somewhere over here or over here. Not exactly sure, but we're entering the event horizon of the Milky Way galaxy. And if anybody's been watching the sun lately, you see these? Those rays have been pretty prevalent. Coming from the sun, too. But here's Yaldabaoth. Right here. It goes down. Wraps around just like the Yaldabaoth. See that? Ain't that crazy? Could make a little face right here too. Winged disc, Yaldabaoth. Yeah, folks, so that's Ein Sof. Here's the dark rift, which is the event horizon for the Milky Way galaxy. And last picture. Orion Nebula, Event Horizon. Going that way. We're at the 25,952 great year. Baktun. About to enter the fifth age. Or fifth dimension. There's the winged disc right here. This is the Orion Nebula. And there's the winged disc. Okay, here's the trapezium open star cluster. I don't know what this is. This may be our solar system, I'm not sure. This is the event horizon. Okay. Orion Nebula. Winged disk, Orion Nebula, event horizon. And I do believe that's why they're doing this to our skies, folks. They're either trying to block information that's supposed to be getting to us, or cosmic rays, X-rays. That's what's melting the ice. That's what's heating up the planet from the inside. Oh, and you see this? That's quite odd. See that internet symbol right here? This is what a black hole looks like from Earth. The same symbol. How's it going, Holmes? Like me a duber. Which make me so stoned that my eyes turn red. And then the shark, he had the munchies and he ate me, and then he got a bloody nose. And somebody screwed up his makeup, Holmes. Trapezium open star cluster makes this symbol. The stars in the trapezium, like there's a binary here, there's one here, one here, one here, and this is the black hole. Pope's been carrying it around showing us all the time. This is Isis, cosmic egg. Doesn't this look familiar? Creation of Adam painting. This is the exact, all these points in here line up to the nebula. And this is part of the heart, human heart. But this is Creation of Adam in the Sistine Chapel, painted in 1511 by Michelangelo, by divine inspiration through the collective. And lastly, you are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way. And this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies. You are that vast thing you see far, far off with great telescopes. You look and look, and one day you are going to wake up and say, "Why, that's me." And in knowing that, you never die. You are the eternal thing that comes and goes. This is Danny Wilton's work here. The guy's analyst, and I mean, this is Orion in the Vatican is this book where I got all these images right here from him. This is what I believe we're seeing in the sky, this red stuff. Like, subscribe, share, folks. Much love, peace, and chicken grease to you all. Thank you.